Mr. Pond Boss, tell me what to do to make all my Lunker Lake dreams come true.
Hello everybody, Bob Lusk, the Pond Boss, coming at you live from the world headquarters of Pond Boss Magazine, right here in the balmy, well not so balmy today, hills of North Texas, near Gordonville. I see Dick Tabbert checking in. Fred Bingman, I know the sun's shining where Fred is. I've been watching your Facebook stuff, mister. Attaboy, that's good. You're on a cruise, looks like. Hey, John Wilson, Jason Nepstead, glad you guys are joining us. Got some pretty big news to talk about, and I thought I'd handle that news first and just kind of give you guys a skinny on what's going on. And then I want to tackle some questions, so get ready to pitch me a few questions. You guys know the drill. I'd love for you to share this video, click like, and in the comment section, hashtag Pond Boss Magazine. Now, if you do that, we're going to have a drawing next week for a hat, Pond Boss hat. We got some brand new ones in, and you get a Pond Boss mug. So we'll do that. We haven't done that drawing in about a month because we haven't had a lot of new people signing up doing that. And I see Craig McBride, Mike Cottrell, good to see you. Now, of course, you know how I do this. You know, I'm kind of a one-man show when it comes to producing and doing this show, so I got to go find it on my laptop so I can see the questions. Oh, there it is right there. I found it. Now I can start to see everybody. Looks like I see Brad Rom, Michael Brooks. Yeah, Michael, I'm going to talk about that here in a minute, about the new partnership with American Sport Fish. Yes, sir. Bill Russell, Christopher Aguilar, good to see you guys. So, yeah, I want to tell you all about that merger. And, of course, when Chris Blood comes on from Texas Hunter, he's always trying to help me help myself. Frank James, Chris Steelman, Pat Williamson, good to see you guys. And I never have been a real big proponent of bragging about myself, you know, and I'm not going to brag about this. I'm just going to inform you about what's going on. But this is my 40th year as a fisheries biologist. Starting January 1st is my 40th year. And I look back and I think, my gosh, took a long time to get to 40, but it sure seems like it didn't take long. But it did. But about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, here's a little backstory. I do three things. And Chris Blood, I see he's checking in. I just mentioned your name because you're always trying to get Bob to talk about Bob a little bit, and I've never been comfortable doing that. But I'm going to do a little bit of that. So I do three things. What I do is I travel the nation helping people design, build, stock, and manage private lakes. That's actually my favorite thing to do. I love to do that. And then I'm the publisher/editor of Pond Boss Magazine. And that happens 6 times a year. And that takes a considerable amount of time. But the third thing is I have a pond management company. And I've actually made my living as a pond management guy. You know, up until about 10 or 15 years ago, I mean, every night I was scraping pond mud out from under my toenails. You know, I would be down in the mud, pulling weeds, you know, checking fish, stocking fish, fertilizing ponds that needed it, you know, treating aquatic plants, all that kind of stuff. And then after a while, you know, you kind of get to the point where, you know, you probably shouldn't be doing that. Somebody else should be doing that. Those younger guys with stronger backs. And so about 6 or 7 years ago, I thought, you know what, Bob, if you're gonna at least set yourself up for retirement, you really need to turn this thing into a company. So I started focusing on that. You know, I hired a full-time bookkeeper, got a CPA on retainer, you know, an attorney that I could afford when I needed to, you know, and then hiring employees and getting guys in the field. Now, I've worked employees off and on my entire career, but I made up my mind that I was going to have to get some really good employees, give them an opportunity to succeed, and then manage them. Well, folks, I'm not a good employee manager. I would much rather spend time with you, helping you get your pond where you want it, and then let them do the work or let you do the work. You know, if I can use the experiences that I've gotten over the last umpteen years, then that's what I do best. That's what I'm good at. Let's see, Chris Blood says, hey, Bob, great seeing you. Your enthusiasm for pond and lake management is awesome. Thank you very much. Thanks for sharing I really appreciate that, Chris. Matt Singley, John Henry, Dave Weber. I'm getting a lot of congratulations on the merger. So what I did was I decided to build a company. instead of being Bob Lusk, the guy that goes out, the pond boss that goes out and takes care of ponds and lakes, that I was going to be a mentor and try to help some of these younger guys along. And heck, some of the guys that are in the business now work for me, as far back as the early 90s. So I've done that. But in the last 5 or 6 years, I think, I wanted to build a company because I knew at some point I needed an asset that I could turn around and convey to somebody else, so at least have the opportunity to retire. So what I did is I started thinking more like a businessman and kind of put my fisheries biology out there, because that's what I truly love to do. I mean, I see Steve Snow. Steve, the pictures you put up of your dock, sunrises and things, man. I just want to walk out there on the dock with you and just talk about those fish and things. That's what I'm really good at. And I'm good at helping landowners create the best fishing lakes possible. I'm good at understanding the habitat of the fishery and understanding the growth rates. I mean, I could tell you story after story of things that I've been able to see over 40 years that make more sense to me now than they ever have. But the businessman side of me, has to take care of the rent. Got to be looking at P&L. Got to be studying the balance sheet, talking to the bankers, working with the CPA, making sure the bills are paid on time, thinking about the electric bill that's being paid in my building, and that's a whole lot less fun, So a few months ago, I was having kind of a casual conversation with the guys, actually Sean McNulty. Dr. Sean McNulty, PhD in fisheries, grew up in Arkansas. The guy, I mean, he smells like a fish. No, he really doesn't. But he and 2 of his buddies, Sawyer Childs and Robbie Mays, 6 or 7 years ago, bought American Sportfish. They worked there, and they bought it from the 2 guys that founded it. And I remember when those guys founded American Sportfish Hatchery back in '85. I'd been at it. Steve, you know what? I'm going to come and see you. I am. I'd probably be in the late spring, early summer, but I would like to come to Graham and hang out and just drink a beer or a glass of tea and spend some time on the dock and just shoot the breeze. So I'm going to do that. Well, anyway, we've been buying fish from those guys. I mean, when we go design a fishing lake, part of that process is to help the landowner get where he wants to be, and it all starts with lake design. So we do that part, but then we've also got to follow up with fish. And then what do you do to take care of them? So I built a company with my employees who've done the work, and I've done my share of work too. I don't keep any hours. I mean, what time is it now? 6:37, and I'm in the office, which I love it. So anyway, we've been working with American Sportfish Hatchery as a vendor, and we've been a customer of theirs, and they've really wanted to have a footprint in Texas. And so a few months ago, just a couple of us were together. I think it was Sean and I think we were at a meeting. Maybe he was in Texas, brought some fish or something. And we started just talking about it. And he said, we've thought about how big Texas is. There's 1.2 million private ponds and lakes just in Texas. And when I started, there were 750,000 back in 1980, 81, 82 through there. So there's a lot more ponds that have been built that need some care and some love and people, understanding they can do things for them. And so as we talked, I kind of smarted off to Sean. I said, well, why don't you just buy my pond management company? And he said, really? And I said, yeah, why don't you do that? He said, you'd sell it? And I said, dude, I'm 63. I've been building this company for at some point that I want somebody younger to come in that can pick it up and take it to the next level. And this pond management industry right now is ripe for that. So he said, you know what? Let me go back and talk to my partners and I'll call you. And I mean, it wasn't just a few days, and he calls me. He says, you know what? We are interested. So we started talking about it. So they'd send me a list of questions, and I'd send them a list of questions, and we'd answer those questions, bounce back and forth. And then over a long period of time, to me, I guess we started talking about it informally in August of last year. And we started looking at our strengths and weaknesses. And their strengths is they can get things done. They manage employees. They've got all the equipment. They got a fish farm. They have 2 fish farms. They're famous for their F1 tiger bass. They raise Florida string bass. That fish farm has been genetically selecting fish since 1985 for rapid growth rates, larger sizes. They've been culling fish adding fish for their brood fish so they can have the very, very best that they can possibly have in the business. And when three guys bought the place, bought the business from the two founders of it, they added some services. They started doing some pond management in Alabama, and they've got the ability to lime lakes, which we don't have that. One of the guys runs a dredging service. We don't have that, and so as we started talking about it, Sean's asked me, one of the questions is, what are your strengths? I said, my strengths are high energy, helping people get in front of those that want to build premier fishing lakes. That's one of my strengths. If somebody wants a fishing lake, that's what I do. And I'm good at it because I love it. I mean, I knew when I was 14 I was going to make a living messing with fish. And so we just started talking about it. And the more we talked, he said, that's one of our weaknesses. We don't market very good at all. He says, but on the ground, logistics, get it done, we're really good at that. So over the next few months, we talked about that and talked, what if we did a merger? What if we bring our strengths to fix your weaknesses and you bring your strengths to fix our weaknesses, and we could have enough synergy that we could do something fun and do something productive and help more people. So as I started talking to him more about it, I thought, that makes pretty good sense. So I agreed to that, and so did they. And then we started to negotiate the deal. And that's where it gets into the details, who's going to do what role you're going to play, how you're going to, where's the dollars going to come from, how you're going to figure all that out. So that's when we brought our attorneys in, and we started figuring it out. Then on Monday, we closed our deal, and then announced it to employees, and then announced it to the world. And we did that with a press release. So you guys, that's what's happened. And the thing I'm excited about is American Sport Fish brings good quality fish. They bring, they're going to help back us up on getting fish delivered promptly, helping us in the field with our electrofishing surveys. Because, these things are these kind of things are seasonal. I mean, you got like 2 weeks to get threadfin shad delivered for the entire year. You've got, for people that want them, you've got 2 or 3 weeks for tilapia. You've got 6 weeks, 8 weeks worth of electrofishing. So there's a lot of things that are time sensitive. And when you've got so many clients and a limited amount of personnel and equipment and stuff, it's kind of hard because you got to spread those things out, then the overlap, and we just don't oftentimes get everything done. Where what they need is more clients, and what we needed was, can we get things done better? So we decided to do a merger, and I'm pretty happy about it. I have peace with it, and I'm pretty excited. And these three young guys, they're 39, 41, 41, are going to get a whole lot of stuff done. So I appreciate all the thank yous and the congratulations. And let's see here. I'm going to scroll back down so I make sure I don't miss anything. I see, let's see, Christopher Aguilar is going to take me to T-Boy's Boudin. How do you say no to that? Morgan Tyler, good to see you, Morgan, Purity Mills. Danny Max done the hashtag Pond Boss Magazine. Everybody remember, hashtag Pond Boss Magazine in the comments. Click like and share this to your timeline. We'll do a drawing next Wednesday for a hat and a Pond Boss mug. So there you go. So now if you've got questions, hit me with them. Morgan Tyler, great move for all involved. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Scott Hanners, I went to American Sport Fish today. Holy cow. Those all three owners were here in Texas. They came on Sunday, and we broke bread Sunday night. They spent the night at my house, and we sat around the table just with a lot of high energy, high level, just excited talk about what we're going to do. And then we closed on our deal on Monday, and then they started working with employees and getting their organizational things in place for the merger, and going to the bank, things like that. And now they Sawyer had to go back yesterday because he's got a job in Atlanta, and the other two guys are probably getting off the plane, or they may be in a vehicle headed back to Montgomery, Alabama from Atlanta, Georgia about right now. Let's see. Scott Hanners picked up some 3 to 4 inch bluegill to cage raise. I like that idea. That's a good idea. I'm hoping my bluegill fish kill is over. I hope it is too. Scott, I'm interested if you medicated the feed and if you've seen any fish coming to eat that fish food. Good luck with the merger, and welcome to Alabama. I'll get to Alabama every chance I get. Let's see here. Steve Perry joins Sheridan Ashmore. Good evening, baby. Well, good evening. Let's see. Sheridan also says, Bo. Okay. Whoa, here it comes. Good evening, Bob. I like that. That's good. Danny Mack says, I want to say that besides the wealth of information in the Pond Boss Show, magazine and forum, today I discovered the resources on your outdoors pond management site. Wow, everywhere. You know what? Here's what Danny Mack's talking about. At BobLuskOutdoors.com, we've archived a lot of information that John Q. Pond owner, every pond master, you guys can benefit from. So go to BobLuskOutdoors.com and go to AmericanSportFish.com, and you'll see some things there. And with what we've tried to do with Bob Lusk Outdoors is to inform people in the best way we can, and the mission there is to solicit new business. So I'm going to make an exception, and tonight I do want to solicit business. We now have such a strong infrastructure in place that we're no longer limited to what we can do. I mean, I've not spent a lot of time marketing to go out and try to solicit more pond management customers, but I'm going to tell you that we can do that now. So if you've got pond management stuff that you'd like to have done, electrofishing surveys, you want to design a new lake, we're available for that. And if you'll send an email to I'll tell you what, send it to BobLusk@outlook.com, and that'll help you do that. So let's see, Tom Davis checking in from Ohio, Bev Root. Hi, Bev. Hope things are clicking over there at Vilbig. Drew Hay, yes, sir. Congrats on the merger. Thank you. Chad Gillespie bought a subscription last week. Good job. Attaboy, Chad. You get your first issue here before long. Mike Waltrip. Let's see, Mike Waltrip. Oh, looky here. Here we go. Here's a shot in from left field. Been waiting on Walter since 2016, 2017 for medium bluegill. Drum roll. Well, guess what? I will see to it that information is passed on. And I tell you what, Walter is absolutely one of the most competent people I've ever met. And if you haven't gotten them, there's got to be a reason for it. So I will check on that for you. As a matter of fact, you know what? So I don't have to remember that. If you'll send me an email at BobLusk@outlook.com, I will send that to Walter, and he will see to it that happens. Billy Wolf and Gene Jensen. Hey, Billy Wolf, he's one of our neighbors here. Gene Jensen's checking in from over there around Georgia. Gene, hadn't seen you in a while. Chad says, we've had so much flooding in Mississippi. I saw a man today with a casting net in a roadside ditch catching small fish as I was driving by. I totally believe that. I mean, I've been watching some of the videos. I like, weather is a big deal to me, because if you're not in a drought, you will be. And every drought ends with a flood. And there's been so many dadgum floods going on here lately. I can't think of, there's a little town in southern Tennessee, just across the border from Mississippi, actually east of Memphis, where the whole town is pretty well underwater from that river. Sean McNulty trying to watch from 30,000 feet, but the Wi-Fi is not keeping up. Well, there we go. There's Sean checking in. Sean, I've been telling everybody about the merger and how excited we are, and we have had a great week. So there's Sean checking in with American Sport Fish. So spend some time on that website as well. And one of my jobs is going to be to help ramp up content for both websites, and then start reaching out to more people to make sure they know that we're available and ready to help. Let's see, Christopher Aguilar, Timothy Phillips checking in. Christopher says, I passed by an old homestead pond. The water is beautiful. When will mine look like that? Oh, probably in the morning. I don't know when it'll look like that. Get the crawfish out of it. They muddy it up. No, you know what? One of these days, you keep hammering at me, and I promise you I'll come. I don't know when, but I will. There's Sean Cole, our resident musician from Lincoln, Nebraska, checking in. Hi, Sean. I want to get a little bit philosophical about pond management, and I'm going to do it kind of in a left-handed way. My little granddaughter, Gentry, I love that child. We didn't want her to go in daycare. Her mom's a nurse, and her dad works at a hospital. So from when she was born, we didn't want her to be in a daycare center with a bunch of other kiddos. So Debbie volunteered to take care of Gentry 4 days a week. So we helped raise her. She would be at our house on Monday morning and go home Thursday evening. So 4 days a week, that little girl was with us until she started school. Well, now she's 10, and she's joined FFA. Her very first project as a fourth grader, she raised some meat rabbits. So she got her 4 little meat rabbits, And her daddy found a pen up somewhere in Oklahoma. He drove like 5 hours to buy a $50 or $60 rabbit pen and brought it back, put it under the roof of the house, and put the rabbits in there. Started feeding the rabbits, doing what the ag teacher said. Well, about a week and a half in, Gentry says, one of my rabbits is sick, Papa. And I said, well, what are you going to do? And she says, well, I don't know. I said, what does the ag teacher tell you? She says, well, she doesn't think we can do much for it. Well, the rules are they can show 3 rabbits. So they start with 4, hoping that by the time that the ag show gets here, that they've got 3 that they can show. Now, I don't know anything about showing animals. My kids never did that. They played sports. And this little girl loves animals. And so what I found out later is that the objective, for those of you guys that don't know, is that you want to raise rabbits to a uniform size within a certain size range. So you're trying to get them all within about 2 ounces of each other, uniform body characteristics, and you guys do this with your fish, and then you want to, make them behave properly, which means handling them a lot, so that when the judges pick them up, they don't squirm and scratch and try to claw their way out. Well, the bottom line is Gentry didn't do anything, was convinced she couldn't do anything for the sick rabbit, and it died about 10 days in. And then, later on, she's feeding these rabbits. They're growing pretty well. One's growing slower than the others, but she's convinced she needs to feed the same amount of feed every day and then regulate the amount of water they take in. So that's what she does. And then one day she comes home from school to check the rabbits, and one of them has got a bloody foot. So she looks at it, and there's dog tracks everywhere. Well, a neighbor dog had escaped from their home and come into their backyard and tormented those rabbits. I mean, there was litter everywhere, whatever the dog did, and spooked the rabbits, and one of them got one of its claws hung in the wire in the bottom of the cage and pulled a claw out. Well, Gentry didn't know anything about that, so she doctored it, took care of it, fixed it. Well, she went to the show today, and she was disqualified because the rabbit that was missing a claw wasn't uniform with the other. You got to have the same number of claws. So I don't know if she should have pulled a claw out of the other rabbit's feet, but I know this. If she had figured out how to take care of the rabbit that died, then she would have had a backup plan. So what's your backup plan? Do you have one? Are you taking care of your rabbits? Are you understanding that animals don't grow in uniform rates? That's what Gentry's having to figure out as a 10-year-old kid to play this game. And so what I'm trying to convey to her is, if this happens again, let's figure out how to fix and work through the sick rabbit, and let's actually give an effort to see if we can save it. And the rabbit that's not growing so fast, let's figure out how to speed up its growth, since the objective is you want uniform sizes within a couple of ounces of each other and for them to be able to be handled well to place in the show. So I thought that was kind of an interesting story, and it's fresh on my mind, and I thought I would share that with you. One of the things that people don't quite understand about fish, and I've preached this in other broadcasts before, but fish don't grow at the same rates. Some fish grow fast, some grow slow, some are aggressive, some are passive. Some have genetics to grow to huge sizes, but they don't have the temperament for it. So part of your job is, as you're judging your fish, look at it like a stock show, sort of. You've got to come to grips at some point as you're evaluating your fishery. How do you maintain their health? And I know Scott Hanners has had issues with that. You got to figure that out. And in your case, it's water, probably, and maybe fish were crowded. Then you got to judge their growth as they go. What are you going to do about that? How are you going to monitor their growth rates? I've got some guys that monitor growth rates by being there when the feeder goes off. And before the feeder goes off, they'll pitch a little feed out there, and they can look and see that there's fish of a variety of sizes, a variety of thicknesses, and then they start to kind of get an idea about what those fish look like. Electrofishing surveys, that's part of what tells you about that. So you can figure it out. So let's see here. Christopher Aguilar, what you're trying to do is get some free consultation, and I don't work for free, but I might work for Boudin, especially if I got something else to do while I'm going. Scott Hanners, I took your advice and medicated the feed with the syrup and the penicillin mixture. I rarely see a bluegill take a pellet, but the bass are eating very aggressively. I think I may have lost all the adult bluegill. I'm starting with just 200 bluegill in the cage. I'm going to start over very slowly. I don't want to overpopulate again. I respect that. Now, Scott, what I would do with those bluegills, those 3 to 4 inch bluegills, fatten them up a little bit. Now, your water temperature is probably considerably warmer than our water temperature here in North Texas. I mean, it's cold outside, and they're talking about sleet and ice tomorrow here. But I was talking to my Alabama buddies, and holy cow, it was water temperature over there was 60. You know, so at that temperature, bluegill are going to start spawning. So if you've got any bluegill left in there, you should start seeing them move shallow and stage to spawn. So be looking for that. And then the most aggressive fish, after you feed them in the cage a little bit and you're confident that they're not likely going to get eaten, go ahead and release those and let them start to spawn. And then maybe, I mean, you probably don't need 25 or 30 of those to begin to spawn, and you don't want to miss a spawning season. If you want to rebuild your population, go ahead and get some of those out. Feed them up a little bit, get them used to eating feed, then release your top 25 or 30 while you're feeding the rest. And here's why I'm telling you that. If you take those top 25 or 30 and put them in the pond, they'll start spawning now. If you took all 200 and put them in there and they don't get eaten, they're going to spawn now. Well, here's the give and take. Those fish, when they start spawning, their growth rate plummets. You know, so you're not going to see the growth rates, but if you leave them in that cage and you feed them really, really well to satiation, then you're going to start to see some pretty good growth rates. And once you get past the first spawn and those bluegill are 4 to 6 inches long, then turn them loose and let them get out there and do what they do. I see Todd Austin, Kerry Martin, Jacob West. Hi, Jacob. Good to see you, buddy. We need to come take a look at your place, although it's muddy every day. Scott Lindsay. Hello, everybody. Todd Austin. Let's see. Now, here we go. Chris and Scott are talking. Billy Bates checking in. It's boiled crawfish season, just for your information. Yep. Billy Bates. What's the word, Bob? Oh, I don't know what the word is. Here's the word, merger. There's the word. The word right now is a merger. You know, and Bob Lusk Outdoors Pond Management Company merged with American Sportfish Hatchery this week. And we're all excited about it. So that's the word. So now let's just take that word a little bit more. How does merger apply to the pond management business? Well, every time your fish spawn, there's a merger. Now, maybe in a big merger, a bunch of people get eaten, but in the fish world, with a merger, a lot of fish get eaten. You know, and that's the objective, is so you can get them out there, get them going, get them spawning, create the food chain. Because remember, you guys are going to talk to me through your phone here in a minute, or your tablet. How many pounds of bait fish does it take for a game fish to gain 1 pound? 10 pounds. There you go. That's it. There you go. Dustin Parsons checking in. Good to see you, Dustin. Hope things are well with you over there in Sadler, America. Paul Picard from northern Mississippi. Paul, I hope you got your flippers and a life jacket on, because you're getting hammered over there. Christopher Aguilar, and I can't feed the Alabama guys unless they wear an LSU shirt. Well, they don't want your crawfish or your LSU shirt. I know that. They're Auburn guys. So that's all three of them are Auburn guys. So Mike Walter, good question. He says, will the merger affect Pond Boss Magazine? There has been a couple of guys ask me about that, and absolutely not. Pond Boss Inc. is a totally separate organization. Let me explain that, because I think there's a lot of either misinformation or people don't quite understand how this all is structured. So we got quite a few guys tuning in now that weren't here earlier. I've done 3 things. One thing is I travel the nation as a lake design, lake management consultant. I mean, I'm talking to a lady now in northern Nevada. I'm talking to a guy in northern Oklahoma about building a lake. I've been talking to a guy in Pennsylvania about how to utilize a 3 or 4 acre pond along a stream to be able to grow some fish for fly fishing. So I travel the nation as a lake consultant in designing lakes or managing lakes and ponds. The second thing is Bob Lusk Outdoors, which is my pond management company. And then Pond Boss is a complete separate entity. Mike Otto and I are partners in Pond Boss Magazine. Mike Otto is a premier lake builder. And we've owned Pond Boss together since 1995. Pond Boss started in 92. So this merger does not affect Pond Boss whatsoever. As a matter of fact, what it does, in fact, is give me more time to work on Pond Boss Magazine. Because now I'm not managing employees. I'm not taking care of equipment. I'm not making sure that our fleet of trucks has the oil changed and the pumps are running. I don't have to deal with that anymore. So, Pond Boss Magazine is a completely separate entity. And this merger has nothing to do with it. All it's going to do is make me be a little bit better with Pond Boss. So I can devote more time and energy to Pond Boss and helping it grow. So let's see here. Pat Williamson, is it about time for the crappie to move into shallow water for spawning? Yes. Temperature keeps going up and down. See, that's the killer about crappie. Listen to me. Crappie, both species, there's white crappie and black crappie. Let me start with that. We'll just start with some fundamental things. The color of the crappie does not determine the species. It can be a black crappie and it can have all kinds of specks and dark colors on it and clear water, and it's a white crappie. And conversely, a male white crappie might look just like a black crappie. But here's how to tell the difference. If you'll raise up the hard spines on the dorsal fin on top of the fish and you count the hard rays on that dorsal spine or dorsal fin, count the hard spines. If there's 7 or more, it's a black crappie. If it's less than 7, it's a white crappie. That's how you tell the difference. So the question is it about time for crappie to move into shallow water for spawning? Yes. Now, it depends on where you are because they start moving into shallow water in the upper 50s, low 60s. So they're one of the first fish, warm water fish, to spawn each year. And they'll go at it for about 2 weeks. But here's the problem. They're inconsistent spawners and they're unpredictable spawners because what happens is when the temperature goes up, then it goes down. If it goes down, they'll move back out to deep water. Then when the temperature comes up, they'll move back into shallow water in states to spawn. But if that temperature keeps going up and down, they'll move in and off the nests maybe 5 times over a span of 3 or 4 weeks, and then they'll give it up. So if the temperature isn't consistently in that spawning range, the females will absorb their eggs, they'll move back out into deeper water, and you won't see them again until the next year. So they're real inconsistent spawners. You know, and then when they do spawn, you know, their babies are coming off the bed about the time that other fish are beginning to spawn, especially largemouth bass. So if that school of largemouth bass isn't protected, it's not unusual for crappie to come in and decimate schools of little bass, decimate schools of little bluegill. So if a body of water is big enough, 20 acres plus, crappie can be successful if you've got the right kind of habitat. But the direct answer to your pond is, if the temperature keeps going up and down, they may not spawn at all. Now, you may be able to catch them in shallow water for a day or 2, but if that temperature plummets, they're gone again. Let's see here. Danny Mack says, my pond hit 60 degrees. Now, Danny Mack's in Central Texas, and the bluegill started eating in their shallow spawning area. I threw in 7 pounds of 3 to 4 inch golden shiners a couple of weeks ago. I thought they'd been eaten by bass and catfish immediately. They all just disappeared after a day of getting chased by bass. Today they discovered the feed, the small bass pellets, and they're congregated in the middle of the surface. What a show when the bass blast the crowd. That's right, because shiners are pretty resilient. They're quick, they're fast, they can evade capture. You know, that's one of the benefits of having them in a crowded bass population is they can escape being eaten and have a chance to reproduce. You know, that's the upside. The downside is they're also nest raiders and they're predators. You know, they're predators, but they're limited by the size of their mouths as to what they can actually eat. So what you got going on is you're feeding your bass, and the bass have kind of figured out when the feed bell goes off, and they're able to get up there and get their share of shiners while they're eating. Drew, hey, you get up here to Pennsylvania, get a hold of me. I'll buy you a steak dinner. Hopefully I can get a hold of Mr. Otto and get down your way soon. Yeah, Drew, that's cool, man. Just email me, let me know. You can email me at info@pondboss.com and we'll figure that out. That'd be good. Billy Bates, good crappie tip. I'm culling all my crappie based on my pond goals. So to me, a crappie is a crappie in my situation. Trying to grow largemouth bass in a 3 to 4 acre pond. 3 to 4 acre pond is really too small for crappie to be successful. Now, there's somebody out there watching this show, they're going to say, you know what? I've had some 14, 15, 16-inch crappie in my pond. I believe that. I've seen it. You have 6. You know, and there's no assurance that you're going to get more. Because if you think about it, when crappie spawn, they're usually highly successful. And what happens when you have so many mouths to feed and you get 3 or 4 years down the road and they don't get culled? You end up with a whole bunch of fish that are way too small to do anything with. And conversely, when you take a small pond and when it's first stocked with crappie, if you choose to do that, those fish are going to grow up and you're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to eat those. And you may, in a 1 acre pond or a 3 acre pond, you may catch 25 or 30 of them, and there's your meal, and then there's none coming up behind them. Let's see here. Pat Williamson says, I guess that's why I don't think there's been more than one spawn in 5 years. That could be. That sure could be. Chris says, are you still going to do these weekly blogs? Yeah, why wouldn't I? Come on, come back at me with something. You bet. Heck yeah, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing these weekly blogs. This is Pond Boss. I may start another one now that I'm freed up with some time to do more. So yeah, this is what I'm doing here is, you see the sign behind me? This is Pond Boss. Now I'm just kind of making an exception today and talking about Bob Lusk Outdoors and our merger and what that means, and I'm trying to solicit a little bit of business. But yeah, I'm going to keep doing these blogs, and I'm going to focus more on getting a few guests. I see Bob Wisher joining in, and I am so thrilled to see my great friend Jeff Connor checking in. I am so glad you're here, Jeff Connor. Good to see you, buddy. Glad you're checking in. We'll catch up one of these days. Let's see here. Let me see what else is going on. You guys pitch me some questions. Oh, wait, here we go. Jonathan Webb says, this summer, some of our bluegill had little white larvae on their scales. Do you have any advice on this issue? It doesn't sound good. We've only been here for 2 years. I don't know much about the history. Built in 81, 3 acres, average depth is shallow, probably 5 feet, deepest being 10 feet. Okay, so now, do you have any advice on this? Okay, you know what? I probably need some more information. When you say little white larvae on their scales, I need to know, does it look like little specks of rice? Does it look like little white pinheads evenly scattered across the fish? Does it look like a little glob of something stuck in 3 or 4 places around the scales of the fish? It could be a number of things, most of which are parasite related. Now, the advice I would give you is to go buy some Purina Aquamax 500 and start feeding those fish. And the more nutritious the feed, the healthier the fish, the better they can fight off those parasites. Do this. Next time you catch one, take a picture. Now here, anybody, if you've got something going on with a fish, send me a picture and I'm going to tell you how I want you to do it. I don't want a picture taken of the whole pond and the fish coming up doing what they do feeding. You can do that, but I want to see one fish. I want to see a fish that's about as big as wherever it is, this size. I want you to hold that fish and take a picture of the whole fish. Then I want you to zoom in, make sure the clarity of the photo is high so I can see it. If it's fuzzy, I can't do anything about it. So take some pictures and send those to me and I'll try to figure that out. So Paul Picard says, okay, so I missed, how does the merger free up my time? I'm no longer managing employees. Employees take a lot of time to manage to make sure, you got logistics for fish deliveries. You're making sure the electrofishing surveys are getting done. The reports are getting written, editing their reports. So I've dedicated a lot of my time to making sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, that our equipment's in good shape, and that the customers are happy. And now I don't have to do any of that. That's what American Sportfish is so good at. They are boots on the ground, logistics, love to manage employees and get the work done. So now I can go do what I'm good at, which is helping you come up with a game plan for your pond and then pass it to them and they get it all done. And then I read the report rather than have to write the report or edit the report. And then I can see to it that the things that I've advised, through my proposals to you and our communications back and forth are actually getting done. That frees me up. So let's see here. Jeff Nolan, howdy, buddy. Pat Williamson, I would rather have crappie, but I caught a 10-pound largemouth bass last week. Probably another reason the crappie are not there. Well, that's a real good reason. A 10-pound bass, you know what a 10-pound bass eats? anything it wants to. Bob Wisher, don't put your puppy in the pond where that 10-pound bass is. Bob Wisher's got this gorgeous little puppy. Paul Picard, brilliant. Look at you. All right. So, see, Chris Horsley says, I got a new 3.5-acre pond. pH is 6.8. Alkalinity is 10 parts per million. I need 12 tons of lime, but it's too muddy to get the truck down to shoot it out. Can I go ahead and stock fathead minnows, red ear, and copper-nosed bluegill in March and add the lime in May? Absolutely, yes, you can. So let's go through all that. Now, because there's a couple things here that are very, very interesting to me. Okay, we've got a brand new 3.5-acre pond, and the pH is 6.8, but the alkalinity is 10 parts per million. Let's explain what all that means. The pH is 6.8, which means it's really close to neutral. Well, neutral is 7. So here's the way, for y'all that don't know, here's the way pH works. A pH of 7 is the same as 0 acidity, 0 alkalinity. So on each side of the number 7, as you go down, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that's acid. As you go the other direction, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that's base. Okay? And alkalinity adds to the base. So an alkalinity of 10 is low, which means there's not a lot of calcium carbonate in that water. So there's some other things dissolved in that water that's helping keep the pH at around 6.8. So yes, you do need to add lime. It's okay to do it when you can do it. You'd rather do it now, but if you can't get to the pond, which not many people can right now, because of all this rain everybody's getting, then it's okay to wait and do it when you can. Just now, be sure and use ag lime. Ag lime is pure. It's, well, not pure. It's calcium carbonate mined out of the ground, and it's pellets about as big as cornmeal. So yeah, I think that, the answer to your question is yes, you can. You can go ahead and stock the fathead minnows, red ear and copper-nosed bluegill in March and add the lime in May. You bet you can. Tell me where your pond is. Just type that in real quick so I can know. Now here's another catch, is be sure that you stock the right numbers of fish. Because the numbers of fish you stock is going to have a direct impact on the results that you get. And that should also be based not only on budget, but what your goals are. If you want to be able to stock bass in May, then you better be ramping up on the fatheads and bluegill now. If you don't mind waiting 6 months or a year to add the bass, then you can stock fewer numbers and smaller fish. So you guys can make that call. So we're at 7:12. Still a little commercial. I love our sponsors. Purina Mills has been a long-time sponsor, good friend. And we've got, let's see, Chris Horsley, Marshall, Red Clay. If you haven't got your fish ordered yet, give us a ring, because we got a truck coming right through Marshall in a few days. And so if you want that, just send me an email, boblusk@outlook.com.